In the mid-1980s, the tranquil suburbs and bustling cities of Southern California became the hunting grounds of a predator whose brutality would forever scar the region's psyche. The nightmare that unfolded was not born of folklore or urban legend, but of a man named Richard Ramirez, who would become infamously known as the Night Stalker. Over a period of 14 months, his reign of terror shattered the illusion of safety in the sanctity of one's own home. 13 lives were claimed. 5 more were left clinging to life. 11 individuals suffered sexual assaults, and 14 homes were violated through burglary. The breadth of his malevolence transcended distinctions of age, gender, and ethnicity, casting a shadow of dread where none felt immune to his reach. Richard Ramirez entered this world on February 29, 1960, in the sun-drenched city of El Paso, Texas, born into a Mexican-American family grappling with financial hardship. His father, a former law enforcer turned railroad worker, imposed a strict regime within the household while his mother battled the debilitating effects of tuberculosis. This dichotomy of rigid control and instability laid the groundwork for a tumultuous upbringing. A pivotal figure in shaping Richard's dark path was his cousin Mike, a veteran of the Vietnam War whose visits were marred by tales of horror and violence. Mike regaled young Richard with graphic accounts of the war, presenting him with photographs of tortured and slain Vietnamese women. These sessions, macabre in nature, were often accompanied by lessons in the use of firearms. The culmination of these influences was a gruesome spectacle when Richard, at the tender age of 12, witnessed Mike fatally shoot his wife during a domestic altercation. This incident left an indelible mark on Ramirez, cultivating a macabre fascination with violence. By the age of 13, Ramirez's behavior began to deviate markedly, aligning with what modern psychology identifies as conduct disorder. His criminal undertakings escalated from car theft and breaking and entering to more heinous acts. At 17, he committed his first known violent crime, assaulting a school teacher during a robbery. Psychological evaluations of his behavior suggest a pattern of desensitization. Research into the minds of serial offenders highlights that a significant majority, approximately 70%, have experienced violence before the age of 14, often coupled with head injuries or neurological impairments. Arndt, California, sustaining himself through a life of burglary. His criminal methodology, meticulously honed over years, involved surveilling neighborhoods, studying potential targets, and exploiting vulnerabilities such as unlocked windows to gain entry. This modus operandi foreshadowed the escalation from nonviolent offenses to the harrowing acts of murder and assault that would later define his criminal legacy. In examining the life and crimes of Richard Ramirez, we are compelled to confront the unsettling reality of how early life experiences can forge pathways to darkness. His story serves as a stark reminder of the complex interplay between environment, psychology, and choice, and how these elements can converge to unleash unspeakable horror. The Night Stalker's legacy is one of caution, urging society to understand and address the roots of violence before they manifest into tragedy. In the shadowy corridors of criminal psychology, the evolution of a serial offender often begins with seemingly innocuous acts. For Richard Ramirez, the boundary between fantasy and reality blurred, as his early home invasions served as rehearsals for the grim saga that would unfold. It was a period marked by an immersion into macabre literature and the discordant strains of heavy metal music, each underscored by themes of violence and chaos. Interviews conducted within the confines of penitentiary walls years later offered a chilling insight into Ramirez's mind. To him, these interests were not mere influences, but rather justifications for his actions. Where others might see these materials as a form of escapism or entertainment, Ramirez perceived them as a kind of dark permission, a validation of his darkest impulses. His journals, a disturbing tapestry of thoughts, intertwined references to Satanism with meticulous accounts of his break-ins, illustrating how his fantasies seamlessly merged with his burgeoning criminal behavior. This dangerous blend of ideology and action would soon manifest in one of the most brutal crimes of his early career. On the 28th of June, 1984, the lifeless body of 79-year-old Jenny Vinco was discovered in her Glassell Park apartment. Her son, upon entering the scene, was met with a tableau of horror that defied comprehension. Vinco's throat had been slashed with such ferocity that it nearly severed her head. Her torso bore multiple stab wounds, and the floor was a crimson sea, a testament to the violence that had erupted within those walls. The crime scene was a chaotic testament to a struggle, with overturned furniture and signs of a desperate attempt at self-defense. Yet what left investigators confounded was the absence of any discernible motive. No valuables were taken. No signs of ransacking marred the apartment beyond the immediate area of the attack. Initially, the Los Angeles Police Department approached the case as an isolated incident, a singular act of violence. Detectives noted the personal nature of the attack, but Vinco had no known adversaries. Her age and the accessibility of her ground-floor windows suggested a calculated choice, or perhaps a random selection by the killer. The method of entry, through an unlocked window, would later emerge as a crucial detail in a broader narrative of terror. At the time, the Vinco murder was not connected to other unsolved crimes in the area, despite a pattern of similar attacks in neighboring counties. It would take the analytical prowess of criminal profilers years later to identify the signature elements that would come to define Ramirez's reign of terror. The selection of a vulnerable victim, the excessive brutality, and the methodical home invasion were hallmarks of his emerging modus operandi. The absence of theft pointed to a killer driven not by greed, but by an insatiable appetite for violence. Eventually, forensic evidence would link the Vinco murder to Ramirez through a chilling synthesis of footprint evidence and the distinctive angle of the knife wounds. However, in 1984, these connections remained obscured in the fog of unlinked crimes. For Ramirez, the Vinco murder was a pivotal moment, a dark threshold he crossed with irreversible consequence. Before this heinous act, his criminal record was a litany of non-violent burglaries and minor assaults. The escalation in violence signified a profound shift in his psychological landscape, a transition from petty criminal to something far more sinister. It is within this transformation that the seeds of his malevolence took root, growing into a legacy of fear that would haunt the annals of true crime for years to come. In the annals of criminal history, few figures evoke such chilling dread as Richard Ramirez, the notorious Night Stalker. His gruesome acts of violence were not just crimes against individuals, but an assault on the very fabric of safety and trust within communities. The case of Mei Lung, believed to be Ramirez's first known victim, marked a turning point where the dark fantasies of a disturbed mind spilled into reality, unshackled by the absence of immediate repercussions or witnesses. The randomness and brutality of the Vinco case, where an elderly woman with no apparent link to Ramirez fell victim to his savagery, highlighted a terrifying aspect often a particular profile. Ramirez's indiscriminate targeting instilled a pervasive fear that no one was safe. This unpredictability became the hallmark of his reign of terror, painting a grim picture of vulnerability across the cityscape. Operating in residential neighborhoods where the risk of detection was high, Ramirez's audacity grew with each assault. He left behind no clear evidence, a testament to his chilling confidence and the cunning that would frustrate law enforcement efforts. His modus operandi was as methodical as it was brutal. Infiltrating homes through unlocked windows or doors, he would neutralize any immediate threat by lethally attacking the male occupant before turning his attention to the female, whom he subjected to unspeakable horrors. The attack on March 17, 1985, against Vincent and Maxine Zazzara stands as a grim exemplar of Ramirez's depravity. In a calculated act of violence, he shot 64-year-old Vincent at point-blank range, then spent an extended period within the household, tormenting Maxine. The brutality escalated to a grotesque crescendo as he mutilated her body, removing her eyes with a butcher knife and etching a T-shaped wound on her breast, a macabre signature of his sadistic impulses. Crime scene investigators were confronted with the unsettling use of satanic symbols, a recurring motif in Ramirez's crimes. The arrangement of candles and the blood-drawn inverted pentagram at the Zazzara residence suggested ritualistic practices, possibly intended to invoke terror and confusion. Such elements compounded the horror, adding layers of psychological torment to the physical violence inflicted. The analysis by criminal profilers revealed deep-seated misogyny intertwined with sexual sadism, painting a portrait of a killer who derived perverse gratification from the total domination and desecration of his victims. The time Ramirez lingered at crime scenes, sometimes for hours after the murders, underscored a chilling desire to exert control over the environment, savoring the aftermath of his horrific acts. In another harrowing instance, at the scene of Dale Okazaki's murder on June 2, 1985, investigators discovered a pentagram etched in lipstick, a sinister signature that further intertwined Ramirez's identity with satanic imagery. Witness accounts of Ramirez donning clothing emblazoned with satanic symbols during some of his attacks added to the mythos of a man who not only embraced evil, but sought to personify it. Through the lens of forensic psychology, the Night Stalker emerges as an embodiment of humanity's darkest capabilities, a reminder of the thin veneer separating civility from chaos. His story compels us to confront the uncomfortable truths about the nature of evil and the vulnerabilities inherent in our societal constructs. In understanding Ramirez, we are forced to examine the shadows within ourselves, challenging us to safeguard against the primal instincts that, left unchecked, can lead to unspeakable horrors. In the shadows of the sprawling urban landscape, a chilling specter left its mark. Graffiti that whispered of cultic affiliations. These cryptic symbols, found at the heart of crime scenes, cast a shroud of confusion over those charged with unearthing the truth. Investigators found themselves ensnared in a web of speculation, torn between the notion that these were expressions of genuine belief or mere theatrics designed to mislead and instill terror in the hearts of the public. The methodology of Richard Ramirez, later known as the Night Stalker, was as perplexing as it was brutal. His crimes bore the hallmarks of deep-seated rage, yet the seemingly indiscriminate choice of his victims suggested a hunter of opportunity rather than one driven by specific vendettas. This duality posed a formidable challenge to detectives, who grappled with the satanic overtones of the crimes. Were these dark symbols a core aspect of his identity, or were they simply a facade, an elaborate ruse to cloak his true intentions? Forensic analysis revealed a chilling pattern. Ramirez often exploited items found at the crime scenes themselves, eschewing personal weapons and thereby complicating ballistic investigations. However, the peculiar tread of his Avia sneakers became a rare thread of continuity, a physical signature that linked a chain of atrocities across disparate jurisdictions. As the Night Stalker's reign of terror unfolded, his confidence swelled. The evolution of his crimes told a story of growing audacity. Initial assaults were marked by hesitation, characterized by swift intrusions and exits. Yet, as time passed, Ramirez lingered longer at the scenes of his transgressions. He brazenly consumed food from the pantries of his victims and even took the liberty of bathing in their homes. This chilling escalation signaled a man who had shed the fear of capture, perhaps even hungering for the notoriety that his dark deeds had begun to cultivate. The year 1985 witnessed an unprecedented surge in media coverage in Southern California as the Night Stalker's exploits dominated the front pages of the Los Angeles Times and echoed through the airwaves. The public's thirst for information was insatiable, with television networks breaking into regular programming to deliver the latest updates, often before law enforcement had fully processed the crime scenes. Detective Frank Salerno's task force, in a strategic move, engaged with the media, hoping the widespread dissemination of information might yield crucial leads. The moniker Night Stalker emerged from the headlines of the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, capturing the public's imagination and cementing Ramirez's infamy. This branding, powerful and evocative, transformed Ramirez into a figure of nightmarish legend. News outlets dramatized his crimes, reenacting scenes of horror that blurred the lines between reality and fiction. On the airwaves, debates raged. Was Ramirez a devout Satanist or a cunning manipulator using occult imagery to obfuscate his motives? The composite sketch of the suspect became an indelible image, seared into the collective consciousness of a society gripped by fear. Experts would later argue that such pervasive coverage may have stoked Ramirez's ego, emboldening him to continue his malevolent spree. In the end, the Night Stalker saga serves as a chilling reminder of the interplay between media, public perception, and the dark allure of infamy, a testament to the depths of human depravity and the relentless quest for understanding in the face of incomprehensible evil. In the shadowy corridors of Los Angeles during the mid-1980s, a chilling figure emerged, a predator who thrived under the spotlight, feeding on the frenzied media coverage that enveloped his heinous acts. Richard Ramirez, infamously dubbed the Night Stalker, became a household name, his notoriety amplified by the relentless echo of news reports. Each new attack was a grim spectacle, magnified by sensational headlines that painted Ramirez as a figure of nightmarish legend. Psychologists examining the minds of serial killers often cite Ramirez's case as a pivotal example of the symbiotic relationship between a criminal's actions and media portrayal. For Ramirez, the coverage was not merely an external observation, it was a reflection of his own twisted self-image, a validation of his reign of terror. He was known to meticulously gather newspaper clippings of his exploits, suggesting an obsession with how his dark narrative unfolded in the public eye. The media frenzy had profound, unintended repercussions on the investigation. As fear rippled through the communities, law enforcement was inundated with a deluge of tips, many of which were rooted in fear rather than fact. The overwhelming flow of information created a labyrinth of leads, obscuring the path to credible evidence. In this climate of paranoia, neighbors turned on one another, reporting individuals based on superficial traits such as a penchant for black clothing or heavy metal music. This atmosphere of suspicion and fear incited vigilantism, with armed citizens patrolling neighborhoods, often targeting innocents who bore a fleeting resemblance to the killer's vague description. Recognizing the dual-edged nature of media coverage, law enforcement began to wield it as a strategic tool. Detectives released carefully curated details about the investigation, shoe prints, ballistic evidence, hoping to rattle Ramirez into missteps. This marked one of the earliest instances where police engaged in a tactical manipulation of media narratives, attempting to outmaneuver the killer in a high-stakes game of cat and mouse. The interplay between the authorities and the press created a complex dynamic, as they both sought to steer the public narrative. This tug-of-war underscored the transformation in public behavior, a transformation driven by the media's portrayal of the Night Stalker as a near mythical menace. Southern California witnessed a surge in gun sales as residents armed themselves against an unseen threat. Hardware stores reported shortages of security measures, window locks, bars, while neighborhood watch groups, some armed, took to the streets under the cloak of night. The media's depiction of Ramirez as an omnipresent danger turned ordinary citizens into self-styled guardians, complicating the efforts of law enforcement to maintain order and focus on the investigation. The structural challenges facing the investigation were immediate and daunting. The geographic spread of Ramirez's crimes across Los Angeles, Orange, and San Francisco counties meant no single police department had a comprehensive view of all incidents. Detectives in Monterey Park, for instance, pursued the murder of Maria Hernandez in March of 1985, unaware of similar attacks occurring in Rosemead or Sierra Madre. In this labyrinth of fear and chaos, the case of the Night Stalker stands as a testament to the potent influence of media on public consciousness and criminal investigations. It reveals the precarious balance between informing the public and fueling a hysteria that can obscure truth and justice. As the lines between reality and sensationalism blur, society is left to ponder the power of narrative and the shadows it casts on the human psyche. In the mid-1980s, a dark shadow loomed over the sprawling urban landscapes of Southern California. The man behind this shadow was Richard Ramirez, a figure who would later be infamously known as the Night Stalker. His reign of terror was facilitated in many ways by the very systems designed to thwart such evil. Each jurisdiction, fiercely independent, maintained its own case files, and crucial details often remained confined within the boundaries of individual departments. This fragmentation was a chasm Ramirez exploited with cunning efficiency, slipping through the cracks of police coordination as he moved between counties, evading capture and spreading fear. The early theories surrounding the crimes varied dramatically from one department to another. In some circles, detectives suspected gang-related activity, a hypothesis fueled by the brutal nature of the attacks. Others leaned towards the notion of copycat crimes, pointing to subtle differences in the modus operandi across various incidents. The Glendale Police Department, for instance, initially categorized the June 1985 attack on Chenarong Kovanath as a drug-related home invasion, oblivious to its chilling alignment with murders occurring in Arcadia and Diamond Bar. This lack of a centralized database to compare violent crimes meant that investigators were ill-equipped to perceive the threads connecting these gruesome events, even when they occurred mere miles apart. The absence of standardized forensic procedures further muddled the waters, with different departments collecting evidence under disparate protocols, complicating any potential comparisons. In Orange County, detectives discovered distinctive Avia sneaker prints at the scene of Dale Okazaki's murder, yet lacked any system to verify whether other jurisdictions had encountered similar evidence. Ballistic evidence faced similar hurdles. Shell casings from various crime scenes languished in separate evidence lockers, often for months, before anyone pieced together their significance. These systemic failures allowed Ramirez to continue his attacks unabated, as investigators toiled in isolation, each oblivious to the full scope of the menace they faced. A turning point arrived when LAPD criminalist Phyllis Singleton discerned a pattern among shoe prints from multiple crime scenes. The distinctive tread matched a specific model of Avia sneakers, size 11.5. This critical piece of physical evidence provided the much-needed link that enabled investigators to connect cases across jurisdictions. Subsequent ballistic analysis confirmed that the same .25 caliber handgun had been employed in several murders, further tightening the noose around the elusive predator. These forensic breakthroughs forced law enforcement agencies to confront the grim reality. They were not dealing with disparate criminals, but a single, methodical serial offender. The case laid bare the severe deficiencies in information sharing among law enforcement. In 1985, no centralized mechanism existed for tracking violent crimes across California, leaving detectives reliant on informal channels and personal networks, which frequently failed. The investigation into Ramirez's crimes became a catalyst for sweeping changes, spurring the development of improved communication protocols between agencies. Today's regional crime databases and task force structures are direct descendants of the lessons learned during this harrowing case. Ramirez may have thrived on the systemic flaws of his time, but as forensic evidence increasingly tied his heinous acts together, the net began to close. In this narrative, the relentless pursuit of justice ultimately illuminated the path towards a more interconnected and vigilant future, where the ghosts of past failures guide the unyielding march towards progress. The convergence of law enforcement agencies in July of 1985 heralded a paradigm shift in the pursuit of a shadowy predator who had long evaded capture. This collaborative effort fostered a synergy of resources and intelligence, culminating in the meticulous crafting of a detailed profile of the elusive killer. Detectives meticulously charted his predilection for certain attack methods, his discernible patterns in selecting victims, and even identified the unique imprint of his footwear. Such a coordinated endeavor was instrumental in ultimately bringing Richard Ramirez to justice, albeit not through conventional police procedures. The unraveling of Ramirez's reign of terror was precipitated by an uncharacteristic lapse in his modus operandi. On the 31st of August 1985, the notorious serial killer attempted a brazen carjacking in Orange County. However, the intended victim managed to escape his grasp, raising the alarm to nearby residents. This impulsive act, a stark departure from his previously methodical home invasions, exposed Ramirez to an unprecedented vulnerability. Fatigued by months of relentless attacks, exacerbated by substance abuse, his usual precision and control waned as he desperately fled on foot through the suburban labyrinth. The media's pervasive coverage had indelibly etched his visage into the collective consciousness of Southern California. His gaunt features, sharply defined cheekbones, and unmistakable appearance mirrored the sketches disseminated by law enforcement. A spontaneous manhunt ignited as the community galvanized into action, residents emerging from their homes, some brandishing improvised weapons, others issuing urgent warnings. This impromptu militia formed a human barricade, determined to thwart any avenue of escape. Among the vanguard were several brave individuals who first confronted Ramirez, one wielding a metal bar that struck the killer, momentarily halting his retreat. Despite the blow, Ramirez persisted in his flight until the collective resolve of the neighborhood converged upon him. The Burgo brothers, alongside a contingent of determined neighbors, swiftly subdued him, wrestling him to the ground and immobilizing him on the unforgiving pavement. This grassroots mobilization underscored the profound impact of widespread media exposure, transforming ordinary citizens into vigilant sentinels of justice. As Ramirez lay prostrate, encircled by a throng of incensed residents, he uttered curses in Spanish, the defiance in his voice a vestige of his waning menace. The arrival of news crews immortalized the dramatic tableau, capturing images of him prone on the street, besieged by the very community he had terrorized. Law enforcement officers, upon their arrival, found themselves in the paradoxical position of safeguarding the subdued killer from the fervent crowd clamoring for retribution. The Bureau of Justice Statistics would later document this incident as one of a mere trio of occurrences where civilians, unaided by police intervention, apprehended an active serial killer. This extraordinary citizen capture illuminated the formidable power of communal vigilance and highlighted the inherent limitations of traditional investigative methods when confronting the capricious nature of such offenders. In the aftermath, forensic psychologists sought to unravel the psychological underpinnings of Ramirez's capture. The dichotomy of serial killers' fates emerged: those ensnared through diligent police work and those who succumbed to their own critical missteps. Ramirez, through his reckless error, unwittingly sealed his own fate, a testament to the unpredictable interplay of human fallibility and unyielding community resolve. In this interplay, the collective strength of an informed and engaged populace shone as a beacon of justice, illuminating the path to a safer society. Ramirez represented a chilling hybrid case, one where the intense glare of media exposure transformed the public into an inadvertent surveillance network. This vast, unwitting web of eyes and ears was both a product and a consequence of Ramirez's notoriety. His descent into a chaotic state, exacerbated by sustained methamphetamine use, severely impaired his judgment during what should have been a routine escape. This stark contrast between his previous calculated crimes and a bungled carjacking underscored the escalating risks inherent in prolonged criminal endeavors. The judicial odyssey of Richard Ramirez commenced on January 29, 1988. Nearly 1,600 potential jurors were interrogated to unearth impartial candidates for a case that had thoroughly permeated the media landscape of Southern California. This exhaustive selection underscored the profound impact of Ramirez's crimes on public consciousness, necessitating exceptional measures to ensure a fair trial. The sheer scale of this endeavor reflected the formidable challenge of assembling a jury untainted by pre-trial publicity and the pervasive dread surrounding the Night Stalker case. Within the courtroom's confines, Ramirez transformed the proceedings into a macabre theater of defiance. From the outset, he etched pentagrams upon his palm, brandishing them before onlookers, and once bellowed, "Hail Satan!" with a volume that reverberated throughout the chamber. His antics persisted even as survivors recounted their ordeals in harrowing detail. Observers noted Ramirez's apparent indifference during graphic testimonies, occasionally smirking at photographic evidence. This demeanor suggested either profound mental disturbance or a calculated effort to manipulate public perception through shock value, a strategy that legal scholars observed was rare, even among serial killers. The trial's progression encountered a grim twist when juror Phyllis Singletary was murdered in her apartment during deliberations. Judge Michael Tynan faced the arduous choice of declaring a mistrial or continuing with an alternate juror. Opting for the latter, the trial proceeded under a shadow of anxiety, with jury safety becoming a pressing concern. The Los Angeles Times described the courtroom atmosphere as akin to a horror show, with multiple jurors reportedly succumbing to tears during testimonies detailing the victim's mutilations. One survivor's vivid account of prosecutors amassed a compelling array of forensic evidence that inexorably linked Ramirez to the heinous acts. Fingerprints, shoe prints, and ballistic evidence served as irrefutable testimony to his involvement in 13 murders, 5 attempted murders, and 14 burglaries spanning several counties. Throughout, Ramirez maintained a facade of defiance. Interrogated by investigators prior to the trial, he responded with bizarre non sequiturs and references to occult practices, further mystifying those who sought to understand his motivations. In the end, the trial of Richard Ramirez became a profound reflection on the dual nature of humanity, capable of both unspeakable horror and relentless pursuit of justice. It revealed the depths of evil that can reside within a person and the enduring resilience of those who strive to bring such darkness to light. In the annals of criminal history, few figures encapsulate the chilling intersection of calculated malevolence and societal fascination as Richard Ramirez. A courtroom psychologist once noted his predilection for non-substantive responses, a trait eerily reflective of severe antisocial personality disorder. Such individuals derive a perverse satisfaction from manipulating interactions through shock tactics, a behavior Ramirez exemplified throughout his trial and life. In a protracted legal saga spanning 4 years, the jury deliberated for 13 days before rendering a verdict on September 20th, 1989. Ramirez was found guilty on all counts, a moment met with his characteristic disdain for accountability. His reaction to the death sentence was a macabre performance. He flashed a 2-fingered devil sign to photographers and dismissed the verdict with a flippant, "Big deal. Death always went with the territory. See you in Disneyland." This statement was less a farewell and more a testament to his lifelong strategy of deflecting responsibility with shocking declarations, fortifying his self-styled image as an embodiment of evil. Upon his arrival at San Quentin State Prison's death row in 1989, Ramirez faced 19 death sentences. Yet, the confines of a 4-by-9-foot cell, isolating him for 23 hours each day, did little to obscure his notoriety. Over the ensuing 23 years, Ramirez became an unsettling icon, receiving hundreds of letters from admirers, including marriage proposals. This peculiar phenomenon, meticulously documented in prison mailroom records, underscored a disturbing reality. Even behind bars, serial killers cave. In 1996, within the sterile confines of a prison visiting room, Ramirez wed Doreen Leoy, a 41-year-old magazine editor who had maintained a correspondence with him for years. Their relationship, sustained through the prison's screening systems, highlighted how determined individuals could forge connections with dangerous inmates. Prison psychologists observed that this marriage afforded Ramirez a continued emotional dominion over someone outside the prison walls, a common pattern among high-profile inmates seeking to exert influence. Ramirez occasionally granted interviews, each an unsettling glimpse into an unrepentant psyche. To Deputy Sheriff Jim Ellis, he confessed, "I love to kill people. I love watching them die. I would shoot them in the head and they would wiggle and squirm all over the place, and then just stop." Forensic psychiatrists who analyzed these chilling confessions found them consistent with malignant narcissism, a condition characterized by deriving satisfaction from manipulating others' emotions through shocking revelations. There was no trace of remorse, only a disturbing pride in his heinous acts. The machinery of justice moved slowly, and Ramirez never faced execution. California's labyrinthine appeals process and ongoing legal disputes over lethal injection protocols extended his life far beyond his sentencing. Ultimately, on June 7, 2013, Richard Ramirez succumbed to complications from B-cell lymphoma at Marin General Hospital, passing naturally at the age of 53. This anticlimactic end deprived the families of his victims the closure of seeing justice fulfilled in its most final form. Thus, Ramirez's story concludes not with a judicial reckoning, but with an unsettling reminder of the complexities within the human condition. His life and death challenge us to ponder the nature of evil and the enduring human fascination with its most extreme manifestations, a reflection on the shadows lurking within the recesses of the human psyche. In the shadowy corridors of California's justice system, the saga of Richard Ramirez unfolds as a chilling narrative of manipulation and delayed retribution. The notorious Night Stalker, whose reign of terror left an indelible mark on Southern California, found a peculiar kind of sanctuary within the prison walls. Here, amidst the echoes of his heinous acts, he continued to exert influence, deftly manipulating the very systems intended to contain him. Psychological examinations of Ramirez during his incarceration reveal a man who thrived on notoriety, using it as a lifeline to the outside world. His carefully orchestrated interviews and the spectacle of marrying an admirer while incarcerated were not mere acts of defiance, but deliberate strategies to maintain a presence beyond his cell. Correspondence with a network of supporters further extended his reach, allowing him to manipulate public perception and maintain a semblance of control. Correctional officers observed with unease how Ramirez relished the predictable reactions his chilling proclamations elicited. For him, the shock value was not just a tool but a form of currency, compensating for the physical control he had irrevocably lost. This behavior aligns with broader research into the psychology of violent offenders, who often resort to psychological manipulation when deprived of physical dominance. Ramirez's prolonged tenure on death row became a testament to the systemic inefficiencies of California's capital punishment process. The staggering average wait time of over 25 years between sentencing and execution inadvertently provided Ramirez a stage from which to perpetuate his disturbing legacy. Paradoxically, the justice system, designed to mete out punishment, became another arena for his manipulations. The terror Ramirez sowed transcended his eventual capture, forever altering the fabric of daily life in Southern California. In the summer of 1985, as the Night Stalker's shadow loomed large, home security companies experienced a threefold surge in demand. Residents who once reveled in the balmy California nights with open windows now turned to extreme measures, welding them shut or fortifying their homes with wrought iron bars. Gun shops reported unprecedented sales, particularly among first-time buyers, as women and the elderly armed themselves against the specter of becoming the next victim. The pervasive climate of fear persisted long after Ramirez was apprehended, with many households maintaining these security measures well into the next decade. The enduring presence of these fortified homes stands as a stark reminder of how deeply Ramirez's crimes permeated the community psyche. The investigation into Ramirez's crimes exposed glaring deficiencies within law enforcement's ability to track serial offenders across jurisdictions. Prior to the Night Stalker case, police departments operated in silos, lacking a centralized system for sharing crucial information about violent crimes. The task force assembled to apprehend Ramirez served as a pioneering model for future multi-agency collaborations, laying the groundwork for contemporary crime-solving techniques. Today, regional crime databases and mandatory information-sharing protocols owe their existence to the hard-earned lessons from this case. The establishment of California's Violent Crime Information Center in 1988 marked a significant technological advancement. designed specifically to prevent the communication breakdowns that had previously hampered law enforcement efforts. The media's handling of the Night Stalker case set a precedent for covering serial killer investigations, crafting a narrative that both informed and captivated the public. This blueprint for media engagement remains influential, reflecting the complex interplay between public safety and the insatiable human curiosity for understanding the darkest facets of human behavior. In the end, the legacy of Richard Ramirez serves as a sobering reminder of the dual nature of justice, a system capable of both protecting and perpetuating the very evils it seeks to eradicate. The lessons learned from his case continue to resonate, shaping the evolution of criminal justice and societal resilience in the face of unimaginable darkness. The saga of Richard Ramirez, known infamously as the Night Stalker, unfolded in the shadowed streets and sunlit avenues of Southern California, leaving an indelible mark on the landscape of criminal justice and media ethics. His reign of terror, punctuated by a series of brutal murders and assaults, not only shook the community to its core, but also revealed the potent influence of media coverage on criminal behavior. During the height of Ramirez's spree, newspapers and television outlets fed the public's morbid curiosity with daily reports that detailed his heinous acts. This sensationalist approach, characterized by graphic crime scene descriptions and a running tally of victims, unwittingly provided Ramirez with the notoriety he craved. Researchers later uncovered that Ramirez meticulously collected newspaper clippings of his crimes, indicating that the media's attention fueled his narcissism and, perhaps, prolonged his rampage. In the aftermath, news organ implementing more restrained protocols during active investigations, carefully weighing the public's right to know against the potential for glorifying criminals. Sensati cats. This shift marked a significant evolution in journalism ethics, emphasizing a more responsible approach to crime reporting. Beyond the realm of media, Ramirez's case had profound implications for forensic science. The pivotal shoeprint evidence that linked him to multiple crime scenes spurred the widespread adoption of footwear databases in investigative processes. Crime labs, recognizing the potential of seemingly minor evidence, began to prioritize the analysis of shoe impressions and fabric fibers. This focus on physical evidence, often overlooked in the past, underscored its crucial role in bridging jurisdictional divides when traditional detective work fell short. The psychological dimensions of Ramirez's case also contributed to advancements in criminal profiling. His ability to traverse county lines while adhering to a consistent modus operandi provided valuable insights into the behavior of mobile offenders. The FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit integrated these findings into their training, emphasizing the importance of identifying signature behaviors over geographic constraints. This refined approach to profiling has since enhanced the efficacy of law enforcement efforts nationwide. The economic ripples of Ramirez's terror extended beyond immediate security concerns. In the summer of 1985, tourism in affected areas plummeted, with hotels experiencing a surge for neighborhood watch programs and citizen police academies, initiatives that continue to fortify community safety today. Even urban planning was influenced, as architects began incorporating natural surveillance features into new residential developments, enhancing security through design. The Night Stalker case remains one of America's most disturbing crime sprees, a dark tale that exposed vulnerabilities in policing and human psychology. Richard Ramirez's actions compel us to confront the complex interplay of childhood trauma, mental illness, and unchecked violent impulses. The case irrevocably transformed Southern California from home security norms to interagency police cooperation, serving as a grim reminder of the ongoing battle against the darker facets of human nature. Our enduring fascination with such crimes reflects a deeper inquiry into the essence of evil and society's perpetual struggle to counteract it. In the realm of criminal investigations, the evolution of forensic technology and communication systems has transformed the very fabric of detective work. Advanced DNA analysis, once a laborious and time-consuming process, now allows for rapid identification of suspects with unparalleled accuracy. Digital forensics, through the extraction of data from electronic devices, unveils a tapestry of interactions and locations, painting a vivid picture of events leading up to a crime. Simultaneously, the power of modern communication systems facilitates the seamless sharing of information across jurisdictions, ensuring that critical details are not lost in the bureaucratic shuffle. Investigators can collaborate in real time, bridging geographical divides and enhancing the pursuit of justice. For those who bear the scars of violent crime, organizations such as RAIN and the National Center for Victims of Crime stand as beacons of support. These entities provide vital resources, offering victims a lifeline of counseling, legal assistance, and advocacy. In this intricate dance of technology and humanity, the pursuit of truth and healing continues, reminding us that justice is not merely a destination, but an ongoing journey of resilience and hope.